conversation topic this week, Gerald, was games that have not aged well, and not just games that haven't aged well, but games that at the time were something to behold.
Okay.
You know, at the time you were like, "Oh shit, this is innovative. This is pushing things forward." But now you go back and you're like, "Wow, this isn't worth playing."
Oh man. I have two answers for that.
Okay.
2.5, because I want to go ahead and get this one out there first. Duke Nukem. Just the way that it handles everything.
The first Duke Nukem?
Like,
Well, I mean, the first Duke Nukem 3D, or...
the idea of the Duke Nukem.
Okay.
It's just now would not hold up.
Okay.
Like this misogynistic piece of asshole that you're supposed to be like, oh, he's so cool. We're past thinking that's cool.
Okay, yeah, you went a different way with this. You went content.
Yeah. But that's why it's the 1/2.
Yeah.
Aside from that, and oh boy, I'm going to hear about this one. Resident Evil 4.
Okay.
Resident Evil 4, yeah, innovative, groundbreaking. But going back and playing that now, it is at the time, we were all about them quick time events. Now we aren't.
Oh, yeah.
So hiding almost everything, like combat wise, there's some bad over the shoulder shooting where you can't move during the middle of it. Coupled with trash quick time events.
Yeah.
It doesn't play well. It's a chore to get through.
Interesting.
Going back to it.
Interesting. I haven't gone back to it. I haven't played it since the GameCube.
Yeah, and no, they ruined survival horror games for everyone.
Yeah.
And then did
That's
that.
not true. I did play like about 5 minutes of it on the Xbox.
Sure, that's how you could get through.
One. But well, I got told to turn it off because it was a scary game.
Fair, but no, just the things that it brought to the table, which yeah, again, people loved at the time, are the reasons that you'll hate it now.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm going to have a lot of people call in because we're a call-in show.
Yeah.
And say, Fraser Crane, you're wrong.
You'll be like, I'm listening.
But this is opinion based, and I'm letting you know that it does not hold up well.
Okay.
And yet again, taking Resident Evil, which is a spooky franchise, and turning it into just this dumb action game, and then hiding it behind these stupid QuickTime events. It's a bad move.
Yeah, I loved it at the time, but
the world loved it at the time.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and see how it is.
Game's the reason why Resident Evil wasn't Resident Evil until Resident Evil 7.
Fair. Though I don't really blame it for, them, because they made, at least they made a good game with that one, at least for the time. As where, even for the time, Resident Evils 5 and 6 were just kind of shit.
Well, it's because they were just trying to recapture what they had with 4, and they didn't realize what they did there.
Yeah, but they were just like, yeah, just action games, right?
Yeah.
We just make these action games?
Oh, man.
Like those Mila Jovovich movies. Did you have another one, or do you want to?
I have another one that I can go ahead, because I know you've got something on your chest here that you would like to get off. So I'll go ahead and talk about my second one for a second.
Go for it.
Final Fantasy 8.
8?
Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong.
Okay, yeah.
I dig it. Mm-hmm. Like the draw system and the way you had to get magic. It was weird, but I was okay with it. But just as far as how the game itself has aged, that is one of the ugliest games, period. Because Final Fantasy VII, they got away with it. It was still blocky enough that it had some charm. Final Fantasy VIII, they tried quadrupling the polygons, and it just turned everything into a blurry mess. Yeah. Which on an old CRT TV, not that bad.
Yeah, HD, not so much.
Oh, you see every polygon jumping at you, and everyone just turns into this blurry mess of a character, and it's really weird.
Yep.
But gameplay-wise, I love it.
Yeah.
And story-wise, it was probably the darkest of the Final Fantasy games.
Yeah.
So I was behind that. I mean, They haven't generally had mature themes, really. So seeing that was interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Um, I've got a handful.
okay.
I'm not a handful. It's really two very specific things. First, going back to it recently because it's on Xbox Game Pass, being as they own Rare. Banjo-Kazooie.
Really?
Yep,
Hmm.
it's not that interesting. At the time, sure, absolutely. Like that really built out what a 3D platformer could be. Going back to it, kind of miserable.
Hmm. I haven't gone back to it, but I will say that the only 3D platformer I think of, and I think 3D platformer is Mario 64.
Hmm.
So, of course, in my mind, I'm like, oh, you know, that was the good one. I've never gone back to a Spyro, never gone back to a Crash Bandicoot myself, even
Yeah.
though they've got those re releases now.
Hmm.
And I definitely never went back to Banjo.
Yeah. Just game design wise, it's clunky. It I don't know. Like it's built out in a way that helps you explore 3D world. It's not as bad as Tui. Like going back to Tui was miserable because they fundamentally forgot everything that made the first one good. But the first one is, I think, if I had better memories of it as a kid, I would be able to go back to it with a little more nostalgia.
Hmm.
But I just remember playing it as a kid and enjoying it. You know, it was a rental for me, not an own.
Right.
So I have enough separation to where I go back to. I'm just like, this isn't really worth doing. You know, this is just like, yes, this innovated, but it's just been done better later.
That's fair.
So, but that's not really that's was kind of an aside, a by the way, like, oh, I just remembered that I played this recently and I didn't feel like it did much for me. My big ones, Quake.
Really?
Quake and Quake 2, miserable fucking games. Fucking awful games. Like they were incredibly innovative at the time. They were the 3D, like full 3D first person shooters, as where like before everything was a Doom clone, and this really had it to where you could look all over the place. These are the grandfathers,
Mm.
not the grandfathers. These are the fathers of the first person shooter. Wolfenstein, Doom. Those are the grandfathers,
Mm.
great grandfather. This is this is what birthed the modern first person shooter, and they are fucking miserable. They're hideous games. Not even just like I'm not even talking about like the graphically, like the
Mm.
graphic capabilities. As far as that goes, it's aged fine, but there's no like the colors are washed out and everything's beige and brown and ugly. It's not fun to look at. The level design, shit. It's shit. The level design's awful. Um, I mean, there's nothing interesting. There's nothing compelling you to move forward. The enemies all look stupid and just this and samey, and
Mm.
they're just low poly little horror things that aren't even interesting to kill. Like, there's nothing fun about shotgunning these things. Um, Quake 2 Quake 2 is really like is really what pushed forward. Quake 2 is like Half-Life was built off the Quake 2 engine, like
Mm.
a heavily modified Quake 2 engine. Like that's the first one where you're holding the gun to the side, and it's really the first one that you can look at and you'd be like, that is what pretty much every first person shooter is now. Um, just prettier, but like the level design on that is awful. I went back and I played that, and I ran around the first level for like 45 minutes, not knowing where the fuck to go. And it doesn't get any better in further levels. Like I kept playing and just being like, what the fuck was the appeal here? And I mean, I guess the appeal was really that was some of the first like death matching, but single player, awful, 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 awful games. Honestly, Daikatana, which was made off of the Quake 2
Yeah.
engine, like historically remembered as one of the worst games ever,
Mm-hmm.
Daikatana is a much better game than Quake 2. Like, level design wise, far and away, it is a better game than Quake 2. It's a little more obnoxious.
Mm.
It's got some elements that, like, I can see, like, really putting people off. But and then there's like that buddy system in it that's just kind of janky and shitty. I'm not calling it a good game.
Yeah.
I'm just calling it a more interesting and a better. Like, if you're gonna go back to one of those games, if you're between like John Carmack's Quake 2 or John Romero's Daikatana, Daikatana is a better choice for you. It honestly is. It is a better game than Quake 2.
We are going to get so much hate mail.
Fucking come at me, because anybody that doesn't feel that way hasn't played those games in 20 years.
That's right. You've heard it here first. Resident Evil 4, shit. Quake, shit. Half-Life, shit.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to get hate mail.